Most of us grew up hearing that the ego is the problem, that ego means arrogance, selfishness, or thinking you're better than other people. So the goal, supposedly, is to shrink it, kill it, or rise above it. But that idea causes a lot of confusion and honestly, a lot of unnecessary shame. Because in psychology, ego doesn't mean arrogance at all. It means the part of you that keeps you grounded in reality. It's the inner system that helps you manage emotions, make decisions, hold a stable sense of who you are, and interact with other people without losing yourself. In other words, you don't want no ego, you want a healthy one. A healthy ego isn't small and it isn't inflated, it's balanced. Too much ego and everything feels like a threat. Too little ego and you collapse under pressure, approval seeking, or self-doubt. A healthy ego is strong and flexible at the same time. It protects you from being crushed by criticism or failure, but it also lets you learn, connect, and change. And once you understand that, you can start to see it in action. So let's walk through 10 clear signs you have a healthy ego, what they look like in real life, and why they're actually one of your greatest strengths. The first sign is accurate self-awareness. You can see your strengths and your weaknesses without distortion. You know what you're good at, and you know where you struggle. You notice your patterns like defensiveness, avoidance, or people-pleasing, and you can say, "This is my part," without spiraling into shame. This isn't harsh self-criticism, and it isn't grandiosity. It's clarity. And clarity is the foundation of growth because you can't improve what you refuse to see, and you can't grow from a place of self-contempt either. The second sign is confidence without the need to prove you're better. You're willing to speak up, take risks, apply, try, or lead, but you don't need to dominate the room to feel okay. You can be proud of your work without putting other people down. Loudness, constant comparison, and showing off aren't confidence. They're usually insecurity. Healthy confidence is quieter because it doesn't need constant reinforcement. The third sign is resilience. You bounce back from setbacks without collapsing or becoming bitter. When something doesn't work, you adjust instead of giving up or doubling down out of pride. You still feel disappointment or frustration, but you trust that you can handle it. Resilience isn't pretending you're not hurt, and it's not toxic positivity. It's having emotional shock absorbers, so life can hit you without shattering you. The fourth sign is empathy without self-erasure. You can understand how other people feel and where they're coming from without automatically abandoning your own perspective. You listen to understand, not just to reply. You can validate someone's experience without agreeing with them or taking responsibility for their emotions. Empathy isn't fixing everyone or disappearing to keep the peace. It's staying connected while staying distinct. The fifth sign is that you can admit mistakes quickly and cleanly. When you're wrong, you say it. You don't launch into a long defense or an excuse tour. You apologize, you repair, and you adjust. You treat mistakes as information, not as proof that you're a bad person. This is one of the clearest markers of ego strength because it means your sense of worth doesn't depend on being right all the time. You care more about fixing the problem than saving face. The sixth sign is independent decision-making. You can take in advice, feedback, and different opinions, but the final decision comes from your values and judgment, not from fear of disapproval. You don't outsource your identity to trends, family pressure, or the loudest voice in the room. Independence isn't stubbornness, and it isn't refusing feedback. It's being able to digest input thoughtfully without losing your center. The seventh sign is openness to feedback without collapsing or counterattacking. You can hear critique and look for what's useful in it, even if the delivery isn't perfect. You don't treat every suggestion as an attack, and you don't need to win every conversation. This doesn't mean accepting disrespect or believing every opinion about you. It means your ego is strong enough to tolerate the discomfort of not being perfect in exchange for learning faster. The eighth sign is emotional regulation. You feel anger, anxiety, jealousy, excitement, or shame, but those emotions don't immediately run the show. You can pause before reacting. You don't fire off the text, shut down, or explode just to relieve the feeling. Regulation isn't suppression, and it's not being numb. It's being able to experience strong emotions without handing them the steering wheel. The ninth sign is acceptance of reality and imperfection. You accept limits, time, energy, uncertainty, and the fact that other people have their own minds. You can grieve what isn't possible instead of denying it or fighting it forever. You pursue excellence without demanding perfection from yourself or from life. Acceptance isn't giving up. It's dropping impossible standards so your energy goes toward what you can actually change. The 10th sign is stable self-worth and purpose beyond image. Your sense of worth isn't destroyed by one failure, rejection, or awkward moment. You feel fundamentally okay as a person, even while wanting to grow. Your goals are connected to meaning, contribution, learning, or relationships, not just status or appearance. When self-worth is stable, you don't have to perform a persona to earn the right to exist. Now, here's why all of this matters. A healthy ego isn't about being impressive. It's psychological infrastructure. First, it lets you handle stress without falling apart. You can feel fear, embarrassment, or uncertainty without needing to deny it, numb it, or blame someone else. Second, it helps you learn faster because learning requires admitting gaps, and a healthy ego can say, "I'm not there yet," without translating that into "I'm worthless." Third, it creates healthier relationships. When you don't need constant validation, control, or superiority, you can listen better, apologize sincerely, set boundaries, and collaborate without power games. And fourth, it supports effective leadership, whether that's at work, in a family, or in a community. Healthy ego leadership shows up as confidence without arrogance, humility with accountability, openness to feedback, and steadiness in conflict. There's a simple way to spot the difference between a healthy ego and a fragile one. Pay attention to what happens when you feel threatened by criticism, failure, or rejection. A healthy ego still feels the sting, but it pauses, reflects, takes responsibility where appropriate, and then acts intentionally. A fragile ego rushes to defend, blame, dismiss, attack, or avoid. The difference isn't whether you feel hurt, it's what you do next. So here's a brief reflection. Think about a recent conflict or disappointment. What story did you tell yourself about what it meant about you? Were you trying to understand or were you trying to win? Could you name your role without self-hate? Did you repair or did you withdraw or retaliate? If your answers show even imperfect responsibility, flexibility, empathy, and stable self-worth, that's not weakness. That's a healthy ego doing its job. The bottom line is this. A healthy ego isn't vanity. It's the ability to know yourself, regulate yourself, respect others, and keep moving through real life with clarity and resilience. That combination of confidence, humility, adaptability, and empathy is not something to get rid of. It's one of the strongest advantages you can have.